I give it about a couple seconds before I'll do the intro for... I forgot how I do it. How do I even do the intros anymore? It's been so long. It hasn't been, but it's like...
What do you mean? We did a show last week.
I know.
We've done this 170
Hey,
something times.
I know. Am I having...
Hey, Zombroz fans.
That's it. Oh my God. I just had a senior moment today. I've been stressed today. Hey, Zombroz fans, we're also twisting back here for yet another wonderful episode of Zombroz Action, episode 189. I'm joined by my co-host with the most memory available inside his mind, Johnny J25. How you doing?
I'm doing well. We've done this show now. What number is this?
189.
We've done 189 shows.
Yeah.
And you're telling me seconds before we go live, wait, what's our intro again?
Yep. Well, there's a new checklist I have now to make sure is the mic's muted for the intro, because how many times have I started the show where my mic is muted?
Yeah.
Did I make sure to tweet it out on all the places and upload it through Discord? Did I make sure to play the video game footage? So I'm going through the whole checklist to make sure everything's going on. And then I'm also trying to be like, all right, make sure you don't mess up our guest named Ben, who's on the show today to tell us all about the wondrous world of developing VR games, but custom mods to VR games. And he actually told us before the show he's only made VR mods, which I think is even more fascinating to hear someone with a perspective that's only attacked this from the VR modding community. That sounds interesting, very foreign to me, and something I want to learn a lot about. So thank you so much for coming on to the show, Ben.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so Ben, why don't you, just to kind of give the audience a little bit of an idea who you are, because I think some Zombies guys kind of are familiar with your work. They've seen people like Noah stream it, but I don't think a lot of people know who you are. So why don't you just kind of give a brief introduction of who you are?
That's introduction on who I am.
Or just kind of like the work that you do so people can get an idea.
Yeah, just VR mods for anything that's moddable for VR, honestly. Because there's not much, but anything that you can add, it's fun to work with, especially with Blade and Sorcery. I don't know if you guys have seen that in Pavlov.
Mm-hmm.
I have not. I don't think I'm familiar with that one. What was it called? Blade and Source?
Blade and Sorcery.
Blade and Sorcery. Okay.
It's probably a little bigger open for modding, but it's not multiplayer, so there's a downside there. Mm-hmm. But the work that's done over there is amazing, and yeah. But I left that community just about 5 months ago to work on Pavlov.
Mm-hmm. So as far as like zombies go, where would you say like your zombies background is?
That's a playing it or making it.
Let's start with like playing. So when did you first get into like zombies?
I think it was, I want to say 11 years old. My brother showed it to me because his friend in the neighborhood showed it to him, and then me and him started playing every night till 5 a.m. trying to hit round 100.
Yes.
Yeah, it never really happened, but
so which game was this? Was this like Black Ops or
we started with Black Ops 2, which is really weird, but then we moved to Black Ops 1 and World of War.
Mm-hmm.
How was that experience? Was it like, oh my God, these are so much better? Or were you like starting on BO2, like this is my favorite, love the transit bus? Because I've heard that perspective before. It's like whatever the first map is, you fall in love with it. Was that the case for you?
Yeah, Black Ops 2 is home for me. That's my go-to. I've never went to the other ones and
sticks.
So this is an essential question then.
No.
Where do you stand on Die Rise?
Oh jeez. Oh boy. Already? Oh,
yeah.
Grandpa Reed.
Well, if you're gonna call Black Ops 2 your home, I gotta know where you stand on Die Rise.
Honestly, I like it a lot.
Love to hear it. That's what I'm talking about.
There's always a group.
I hear a butt coming though.
I mean, I guess there is no butt to it. It's just
perfect. Even better. Leave it at that. The running joke on this, and really just in the zombies community, is that Die Rise is one of the worst maps ever. But the hill that I've chosen to die on is that Die Rise is one of the best maps. Everybody disagrees with me. I've made entire videos singing Die Rise's praise, and the comments just rip me a new one. I think the only person on earth who stands Die Rise.
I'll definitely put it above Transit. I don't want to get hate for that, but I'll put it above Transit.
Okay, interesting. So then, do you have like a Black Ops 2 map that you like the best?
Barry's my go-to. As weird as that is, because there's no excitement to it. Just for if I'm gonna go play zombies and I want to have a chill time, it's gonna be Buried.
That makes sense. Buried is one of those maps that I find it the easiest,
Yeah.
but it also kind of opens up the most room for playing around. Like you can actually get really good with Die Rise in the sense of like little tricks that you can do that other people don't quite know, like getting multiple perks, or using the time bomb in creative ways, or using like the jet gun to fly around. Or there's different strafe jumps you can pull off that you might not know unless you've fiddled around with it a few times. Like Buried, I think, is one of the few maps that rewards players who know the ins and outs.
Definitely.
But it's also very easy. So I know you mentioned like Buried and that being one of your favorite maps, and you're working right now on like Buried VR. So is that for you like homecoming? Like, all right, I'm coming back to my map.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I originally started with Town just because it was small. I'm sure you guys have seen that, but
Yes.
Yeah, I started with it because it was small, and I wanted to get the grounds of how it all works, because that was my first introduction to Unreal Engine, and after months of playing around with stuff and learning how it all works, I finally released it and finished it. And Buried's only taken me a couple weeks now. I've actually gotten pretty much done. So
when you started off just with making Town and putting that into VR, where's like I assume so I know a number of people are working on this. So I guess did people kind of make zombies, like, so they incorporated the mystery box, incorporated the pack-a-punch, and you kind of took that work and compiled it into Town?
Yeah, pretty much. Of course I've done my twists on it, and you add stuff to it as you're going, but the basics of zombies have been made by CZ, who's the main creator of the mod.
So then how does like getting like actually Town in there? Because when I saw it looked like a 1-for-1 creation. Like, are you able to just import the map design, or do you have to build it from scratch? How does that work?
You import the most of the map as it is. You have to start placing stuff by hand, or you can make a script if you know scripting to place all the objects where they're supposed to go. But that doesn't mean you're going to have the textures or all that in the place. You actually have to go and put those where they're supposed to be. And for the lava, I actually had to make that. That's not even from the game.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the stuff that you see in my maps won't be from the actual games. Like,
like a lot of the weapons, I guess, are the weapons just from Pablo.
Yeah,
that's actually because of someone who Rob Sola. He just showed us about a month ago we can make custom guns.
Ooh.
So what I've been working on lately is getting all the Black Ops 2 guns. I have most of them in right now.
Oh, that's exciting. Well, I remember I was watching Noah play, and he entered the bar room, and he saw the jet gun sitting on the buildable table, and the first thing he tries to do is pick it up, but he's unable to. So with this new addition, could it be possible to make the jet gun pick upable?
Absolutely.
Call it that.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, that would be cool. And so what are you able to do, like, as far as like Easter eggs? Like, if you wanted, could you script like the whole Buried Easter egg, or is that when it kind of starts to get too complicated?
I mean, it is complicated, but I absolutely could do it.
Oh.
But you just have to give me a couple weeks to do something like that. But that would be like all my devotion into that. 'Cause, I mean, I spend probably 8 to 9 hours a day working on this stuff. So yeah, it's a lot of time that goes into
Absolutely. That's more than a full-time job. Just about on par, but that's incredible. When I was playing, and by playing I mean struggling and trying to learn Pavlov all in like one sitting, which was not going well. And then the screen I was even capturing, I have a separate screen I could capture, but then there's another screen that forces its way on there. I finally got into window mode and I put it on a different monitor. Halfway through almost early in the recording, it just pushed itself onto the capture screen, so half the screen was just screwed up for the entirety of the capture. So I'm just like, but what I noticed in Doris, the mod I was playing on Pavlov, was the teddy bears weren't there. Some of the basic like Easter eggs and, like you were saying, textures were missing. The moon wasn't even in the sky on the Doris version I was playing. That's one of the first things I looked at, and I found this interesting I guess juxtapose of location and feeling. Like, it was so familiar. It was incredibly eerie to be in this map for the first time in VR. Like, I've played Derice so many times, but to actually be in VR Derice was a weird feeling. But then to also see, like, well, it's not quite as I remember it. I can see there's little things that are off. I'm surprised you can actually script stuff in there. But when I was actually looking, because this is how basic bitch I am with this so far, I couldn't figure out how to just get the damn zombie mode running in Pavlov. I was able to just easily subscribe to the mod. I was able to load in the mod, select the mod in the more settings. There's not much to choose from in Pavlov. It's very straightforward. And then the modes, like I loaded in the first time, it was TDM, and I was getting shot by bots. I'm like, okay, this isn't what anybody wants to play. That's not how you do it. I tried the hunt mode, and I didn't try the other 2 modes that were on there. And then there's literally a giant thing that says zombies next to it. So I'm like, load the map, click the zombies button. Nope. Took me to its own zombie hospital mode. I'm like, okay. So I still didn't figure that out. So I haven't actually got to experience. I went through the tutorial and struggled with figuring out how to throw a grenade. The announcer must have programmed that in to be like, we know people who are inept or have never done FPS VR. I kept blowing myself up, and he goes, try not to blow yourself up next time. I'm like, I am. I'm trying so hard not to blow myself up, and then I'll blow myself up, and he goes, try not to blow yourself up next time. And then I started laughing because I've blown myself up so much that there's just ragdoll bodies floating in the room because I'm dying so much. I'm like, oh my God. So I am envious of Noah and his gameplay that he was able to actually get used to it and play. Going in blind, I think there's a lot more credit due to the VR community for playing FPSs in VR. If they just pick it up and go, that is amazing, because there is very much a learning curve for me for what the button functionalities were. I couldn't figure out how to get the menu up until I listened to the tutorial and told you press 2, I think it was Y and trigger at the same time. Again, with all that said, I thought there'd be a larger barrier to coding the Easter eggs in there. And when I was trying to Google just how to play, which I still don't know, how to play zombies in Pavlov, custom zombie maps, I was finding people showing the same map maker that you use to make custom zombie maps for PC. And I was blown away by that, which is, I imagine what you're going to tell me is Unreal Engine or something along those lines. And it was all just like linking together to see how this community collaborates and creates such incredible maps or brings them back to life in these new mediums. I'm amazed by it, and I'm even more amazed by it. You could code buried Easter egg in there, obviously give yourself weeks, but that stuff is incredibly ridiculous to code.
Yeah, well, you teased us a little bit before we went live. You'd mentioned that you said today you got Leroy working, and they were like, no, save that for the show.
Yeah. Tell us about it. What's that process? Is it the same as, I'm not sure if you would know, but is it the same as modding on PC when they do it for like Black Ops 3 or World at War? Or is VR modding different in the way you need to write your code and implement it?
I think it's definitely different from Call of Duty's. I've actually never used Call of Duty's, modding, so I wouldn't know what it's like.
Sure.
But in Unreal Engine, we use visual scripting, which is you drag out like nodes and you connect them all to make them work together.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's definitely it's, I don't know, it's different. It's different than regular code. 'Cause I code C# in Unity.
Sure.
So when you're using nodes, it's a little confusing for me, but
because you're manually placing the nodes, or you actually pointing to things in your code for the node, and everything derives from the nodes inside your code.
Well,
could you imagine a node is almost just like a script?
Yeah. And
you link those different scripts together?
In a way, yeah. I mean, you can do that because you have functions and you have your branches. You have everything. It's got nodes, and then you drag out wires from the nodes and connect the wires to another node to make things work.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Neat. I think
when it came to putting Leroy into the game, like he's got so many little like features, there's a million things.
And I left some of them out because some of them just don't make sense for me to put in because it would just add a lot of time
That's what I would imagine. Like if you're like, all right, if Leroy has 15 features and now you got a 15 item long list of things you got to do. Like that's a whole laundry list right there.
Of course, there's things that I've definitely left out. Like for the Ghost of the Mansion, it's difficult to make a nav mesh or navigation that the zombies can't walk on, and then the ghosts can walk on the zombies one. So the ghosts don't actually ever leave the mansion. When you leave the mansion, they just stop following you.
Oh,
so that's another one of those little things that I would leave out.
Yeah.
One of the things I noticed is I think players are able to run through the ghosts. Are you able to run through the ghost in Xbox? I forget.
No.
Yep. So the problem with that is that
was just a little thing I noticed.
It's definitely weird getting trapped in a corner in VR. So I just turned off collision for the zombies and ghosts. I may turn it on eventually, but
I don't know. I think that sounds like a blessing because it's disorienting.
You should, though. I feel like you should be able to run through the ghosts. Like I think this is a mistake on Treyarch's part, and then you fixed it. Because as soon as I saw that, I was like, wait a minute. I don't remember being able to run through them. But you should be able to run through ghosts. Like, why wouldn't you be able to? Mm-hmm. So I think even though as far as technical reasons is the more practical thing to do, it also I think is the right thing to do in terms of design.
Yeah,
funny how that works out. And so you probably wouldn't go into like the little nitty gritty details of like shoot like the dartboard and then suddenly be able to get a free perk or the ghost playing the piano, little things like that. That's probably too much minutia, right?
Surprisingly, I actually am doing the ghost playing the piano. But
I love it.
That's awesome.
Dropping the perks have not been added yet. I'm going to add it eventually because, of course, that's when the ghost would leave the mansion. Because the only reason the ghosts ever leave the mansion is so you can get that extra perk. But I haven't made that yet. So
gotcha.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I was wondering, how does, say, implementing a perk like Stamina Up or Speed Cola go? Because, like your movement is, or not I guess your movement, it makes more sense. But, for example, something like reloading, isn't that just as fast as you can do the motion?
Well, for Speed Cola, there's been a lot of ideas. But the main one I think we're focusing on right now is that when you put the mag in, you're not going to have to pull that charging handle back. So you're just
God, shoot that's so nice. That's so nice. The amount of times
it doesn't.
No, go ahead.
It doesn't get rid of all the time it takes to reload, but it does decrease it, pretty drastically.
Yeah, it's one less step. I love though the idea that you got to take the drink and then drink it yourself. Like those little like immersions of VR are very fun.
I actually disabled those in my map just because the fact that some players don't know how to do it and then it just doesn't actually get used and that bottle just sits there and they don't drink it.
That makes sense. I think I saw Noah struggling with that when he was trying to drink the drink and it took him a couple tries.
Well, yeah, it's strange because where the like hitboxes actually exist is so strange where they want your hands. Like when they were in the tutorial, they're like, hey, pull your primary out. And I put my hand like right about here on screen. I'm about at my shoulder. I pulled it and nothing came. And they're like, no, behind you. So I go further behind me and then an assault rifle came out. I'm like, okay. But then there's little stuff like you want to hear something on the radio, put your the remote next to your head and click the button, and all of a sudden the radio starts playing. I'm like, that's super cool. It's just like putting a phone up to your ear. So I was like, they get some of that stuff right, but then when you're doing the minutia of a Call of Duty zombie map, that's where those little details of like, okay, so how far do I actually have to get the jug back to drink, especially if you're working off the sensors of a VR rig. I'm using the Oculus Go, I think, which doesn't need the mounted cameras. All the cameras are on the headset, but players are then how do you deal with people that aren't calibrating their safe areas properly or the floor, the cameras? Like, wouldn't that also impact how your map plays if they're not even setting up the VR properly?
I mean, yeah, definitely for some parts. Like I've had a lot of complaints people can't guard the mystery box, but that's not my problem. That's their problem.
That's what I was curious about. And I did see those comments. I'm like, that seems like a you problem. That's what I thought.
Yeah, if you can't set it up properly, all of a sudden you got to go to every person who's playing its house and put their cameras in the right place and make sure.
I definitely get a lot of complaints that aren't my problem, but like you just gotta tell them what to do. And
what you have to do is set up a tech support team for your maps. And then when somebody has an issue with their VR, be like, all right, we'll send out a team. They'll be here tomorrow between 12 and 6 o'clock. And then they'll show up at 7 o'clock and fix it for you. Something like that. Yeah. One of the things I was wondering, though, when you are developing for VR, like, it's a 3D space, but it's a 3D space that's more explorable because you're able to look in every which way. Does that like present challenges that you wouldn't think about?
Absolutely. There's a lot of things that Call of Duty has made because you're, you know, stuck on their camera and you know, you can't look over things, can't look under things. They get rid of a lot of unnecessary objects that you wouldn't need to see. So when you're making it for VR, you have to modify what's already there so people won't see out of the map. You know, like there's a lot of places. I had someone complaining to me the other day they could see out of the map and into the sky when they were in the Cave of Buried, but that's just because it was VR, not
yeah. And from Treyarch's perspective, nobody was ever looking there, so they didn't need to do it.
Exactly.
So then in that case, when you're like in the map maker, and I've seen this a bit too because we've worked with a few other like mappers and had them on the shows, and we've gotten like some looks at it behind the scenes. But that's all just like keyboard and mouse as you kind of explore that space. Is it then? Are you able to like kind of as you're making the map see what you would see if you had the headset on? Do they make anything like that?
They have it for Unreal Engine, but not for the Pavlov editor. So we don't actually ever get to see it in VR unless we upload it to the workshop and then try it. So it's when you're testing a lot of things, it's very difficult to have to upload. You wait 20 minutes for it to upload, and then you can test it, and then you find something's wrong, and you got to go edit it again. So
that sounds like such a trial and error.
It's terrible. It's terrible.
That's unfortunate. So what would you say so far has been like the most interesting thing about developing like Buried into VR? Like what are you most excited about?
I'd have to say the ghost, just because I think everybody's gonna be real scared of them. This the mansion in general. That was one of my favorite things about about Buried was just I was always scared of the mansion as a kid. So when I I think see that in VR, it's really amazing.
What I think would be really interesting, and I can't wait to so ever since I've fallen into the world of VR zombies now, and I've been watching a lot of it, and now I'm like, all right, well, let's start saving up for a VR headset because I want to play this myself. And one of the things that I think would be most exciting is to actually go through the maze with the headset on, like first person. That's all I can see.
Oh
like that to me is what I'm most interested in trying out.
Yeah, even though I remade the maze and I know what patterns it makes and all that, I still get lost in it.
Yeah, I think something about it, like when you're playing the game, you're in first person, but when it's all you can see, I have to imagine it's a whole different experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
it's really amazing.
So where would you go? So you do Buried. Where would you go next from there? Mob of the Dead, Origins,
It's Mob of the Dead's next.
Oh,
really?
God.
Yeah.
Oh, man. That seems like a real undertaking because you're going to so many places. You're going to Afterlife mode, you're going to the bridge, and then there's the hard reset once you electrocute yourself. Does all that pose a massive hill to climb for you, or is that something that's nothing? Not that like, I'm curious if in VR that's not as big a hill to climb. Like, oh no, actually that's part of the easy things. The real hard thing is what's underneath the rock that Treyarch doesn't have to texturize.
Nope. It's gonna be the Afterlife is gonna postpone me at least 2 weeks, I assume.
2 weeks. Listen to his dev times. That's what I find the most ridiculous. You're like, oh man, 2 or 3 weeks is going to take me. Well, we've had developer or mod makers on here before that are like, you know, give me a month or two and I can get it through. And then another one being like, years! It's taken me years! I love how every time we get another mod maker on here, the timeline just gets shorter and shorter. This is amazing.
I mean, some people don't have as much time though. Like I know one of my people that I work with, he only gets like an hour every couple days. He doesn't get much time.
Sure.
So it really depends on how much time you get, because I can spend anywhere from 1 hour to 13 hours a day if I wanted to.
Right.
But it just depends on how much my brain can handle at the moment.
That makes sense. We should be measuring by time spent working in the maps, not so much by how long it takes to complete them. That's fair.
Yeah.
So would you consider Origins though? Is that perhaps on the docket or no?
I'm not working on it, but someone else is right now.
Yeah, there's already one
is.
there's already one in the shop that has 3 stars though, so I imagine it has loads of issues. Yeah, I saw it. I was gonna install and play it, but
because
I was sucking.
Could you imagine like looking up and then seeing the robots
Crush you
and imagining it being a million times bigger than you and crushing you? Like I think that would make me jump.
I've actually been in the playtest for that, and
really? What's that like?
It's really amazing. Because Origins is definitely the most beautiful and well put together map in Black Ops 2, in my opinion. I mean, and seeing that giant step on top of you, he didn't have the teleportation system into its head yet, so you're not going to get teleported in its head. You just get stepped on and whatever. But just seeing it step on you felt so crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would be insane. So this wouldn't work in like normal zombies, but could you imagine though if you could actually like see out the eyes of the giant robot's head and then look down on the map? I don't the amount of development that would take. You'd have to actually just completely make whole new landscapes so you can see out there. But that'd be a cool idea.
Yeah, I don't know if he'd do that, but that'd be absolutely amazing.
Oh no, he shouldn't, because like then you would have to completely rework everything. But then just an interesting thought I just popped into my head, because I think once you really change the perspective to not only first person, but actually like everywhere you look, that opens up some really interesting ideas for views and like scenery and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that's what I think intrigues me most about zombies. It like adds a level of immersion that just isn't there when you're looking at it through a television and you have a controller in hand.
Yeah, it's definitely
One of the things I was wondering, so like what's your background? So I know like you do a bit of scripting. Do you have like a CS background, or where, like how did you like realize that this was an a possibility for you?
Well, for coding and starting, I was working in Blade and Sorcery, and I was making just weapons, just little swords you can poke people with, whatever. And I was like, I want this one to shoot a bullet. But you can't just be like, okay, shoot a bullet, and then it shoots a bullet. You got to make that work. So I started watching class. I watched a 4-hour video, I think 5 times, just to get an understanding. Because every time I watched it, I would learn something that I didn't learn before.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of it all, I just knew what I was doing pretty much. And I've made multiple different guns, different things, different teleporters, different things you can do with coding, and just it's endless. It's endless what you can do with coding. And then
so are you self-taught as far as like programming goes?
Yeah, I've never taken an actual course.
Wow.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's
dude,
impressive.
you're a testament to the YouTube tutorial community, the self-taught people. That's amazing. Congrats, dude.
That is kind of a lot of how the world of CS goes. So I'm a computer science major, so I've been learning this stuff for about 8 years now or so. Like I started in high school, now I'm on my 4th year of university now. But because of the recent virus and all that, I've had to like move to online classes. Yeah. And I'm like, well, CS is already online, because what I end up doing is just like not understanding something in lecture and then learning it from some Indian guy on YouTube.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And that's typically how my experience has gone. Like you could learn almost anything in the world of programming, computer science on YouTube. It's an incredible resource for that.
You know, quick, interesting note you bring up there. Does that mean, because that's so common that you find those tutorials that typically are outsourced by Indian workers, and I think a lot of coding jobs are outsourced to India. Does their infrastructure for computer scientists, or at least knowledge for computer science, is it so vast, or do you think it's more to deal with just they have a bigger population to pull from, and that's why they're able to do tutorials?
I think what happened is that there's a lot of people in India learning to program, because it's one of those skills that you can learn on your own at home.
Yeah.
All you need is really just a laptop. So, and it's one of those jobs that's getting outsourced to India a lot. So I think what you have is a massive population that's willing to learn to code. Mm-hmm. And then you saw people who understand computer science in India, saw that demand, and then started making their own tutorials. So actually what I run into is I'll look up a lot of videos, and I'll have to listen to it for a couple seconds and say to myself, is this a thick accent, or is this video in Hindi? And then the video will be in Hindi, and then I'll have to click off and find one in English.
Yeah.
That's actually really common. There's a lot of Indian creators making computer science videos, really good too, and like in-depth university level stuff. but I've gotten really good at understanding the thick Indian accent as a result.
So that's what I thought was fascinating, though, because it seems like the demand for computer science created these experts in computer science in India, and then they ended up teaching the people who originally wanted the demand for computer science, the upcoming generation of people in America logging online. So I think that's a fascinating cycle to see how this self-taught community comes out of the software developers and coders and that sector of the online world. That's really cool.
You can learn almost anything off of it, which is pretty cool that you were able to then take what you learned online and then put that into Zombies VR, which is just awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so like when you're doing something like that, are there any limitations, or do you feel like you could do almost anything? Because sometimes I'll talk to map makers and they'll be like, well, the engine just doesn't allow for it, but is the Pavlov engine pretty open?
Well, there's a lot of restrictions with Pavlov, but I mean, if you really took the time, anything is possible. It's just how much time you're willing to put into it.
Interesting.
Because I could sit there for 4 hours looking at the same screen, and it's not going to change how much I know. So as long as you're building it, you also have to be learning stuff too. So it's just how much time you're willing to put into it.
That's what I find interesting, because it seems like from talking to map makers that at least like the zombie custom maps modding tools, they're actually relatively locked down. And you're kind of only, for a lot of the time, only able to work with the features they already have implemented into the game. And you'll see stuff get added, but it's a much slower process. Whereas, like, it seems like with at least the community developing maps for VR, they've just hit the ground running and they're adding all sorts of features. Like, I was not expecting something like Leroy just to be feasible.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Just because you'd have to build that from the ground up. But it seems like there's much more opportunity to actually like develop features and new things into maps through VR.
Yeah, there's definitely more you can do. I mean, I don't know, because I've never used the Call of Duty, modding system, but I assume they have it locked down so you can't do something they haven't done. You got to use what they have, their assets, but we make our own assets.
We joke a lot sometimes with VR, or not VR, with custom maps, where it's like you have death by soulbox, which is like the main way people will implement like different Easter egg features, and you'll have like a million soul boxes around the map, because that's something that Treyarch has done. And then I'm not exactly sure what the limitations are, but it sure feels like it is sometimes. Like, it's not as open as just like I'm going to do whatever I want.
Yeah, I watched videos a lot on custom maps, because I don't actually have Black Ops 3 or anything, so I don't get to play them. I don't really play a lot of on-screen games. I play mostly VR too. As much as I make VR, I also play VR a lot.
When did you first get into VR? When did you, were you an early adopter to the VR scene?
No, not really. Actually, it was right before I started modding VR. I got VR and started modding it pretty much immediately. But I was in Tennessee, and I went to this mall, and in the mall there was a VR like thing. You get to like see VR and play with it a little bit.
Oh, it's just one of those ones where you sit down in like a chair.
No, I got to be up and stand and walk around. I paid $60 for a half hour, which is really expensive, but I enjoyed every minute of it, and I would never go back, because I got home and I ordered one right then and there.
Oh, so was it the one where you actually can run, where they like belt you in and then you wear special shoes and you can go in different directions type of deal? Or was it just a normal setup room where you're cool? Let me see if I can get what I'm talking about.
And yeah, I know what you're talking about. You're talking about the VR treadmills.
Yeah, yes. See, you're in it.
It wasn't that, though. I have not gotten to use one of those. I was thinking about getting one sometime soon, but they're just, I've heard they're not the best right now. It feels very wobbly, people say. It says what do you call it? Like when you slide your foot, it just feels like you're not really walking.
Yeah. See, my modding, my VR experience at the mall is me doing the, like, it's like a chair that they have on like a little hydraulic. Yep. And I think I did like a roller coaster, and I felt so sick halfway through that I just stopped. Like, I was getting nauseous almost immediately. And I was just like, yeah, no thanks. This isn't for me. And I left right away. But I did one. Sony had a setup at COD XP where it was like they had a full chair that like felt like a spaceship chair. And then you were in like the space battle. and that was one of the most incredible experiences I've ever had in terms of gaming. Like Sony knocked it out of the park because this was like their top of the line demo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then the mall was just a shitty experience that I think I paid $20 to just put on a VR headset and a hydraulic chair and get nauseous for 5 minutes.
Yeah, it was a little egg shaped seat, right?
Yeah, something like that. I
I've
think.
seen one in my mall like that too. It's no good.
Yeah, I don't recommend the experience at all. But it did make me worried that like, oh shit, if I do get like a Vive or an Oculus, am I going to get nauseous from that? But I hear that they've worked that out pretty good.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I started out with the Vive, and then I got the Vive Pro, and now I'm at the Valve Index. But the Vive was perfectly suitable for anyone who wants to get into VR, especially right now at the price you can get them for $250. It's
yeah, no, that's not bad at all. Do you find that like the VR community is pretty small right now because it's so new and you have to have like a decent bit of hardware to jump in?
I mean, yeah, it's small, but it's growing up every day. I think one of the Discords that I'm in for VR has like 16,000 members. So there's 16,000 people just there that have, most of them have VR. Some of them are interested in getting VR.
That's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just really cool to see all the people but some of them, are just not there. They don't care about it. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. I feel like a lot of people would see the VR zombies maps and like they'd want to play it, but I'm not sure how many people have like VR. But like even I'm watching the videos, I'm like, I want to try this.
Yeah, I've had multiple people that say they don't have VR, and they're like, I got to get VR after seeing this. And it's really cool.
Because that's what I saw the buried VR trailer, and then I fell into that rabbit hole, and then I'm like, well, Google the different prices and figure it out. Mm-hmm. And now it's definitely on my radar. Like, and as far as like making the maps, so it's you. I know you mentioned somebody else kind of really laid the foundation for like all the mod tools and zombies.
Yeah, what was his name again?
CZ. He actually
CZ.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He's on YouTube and Discord. I don't know if I have any links to his stuff right now, but
so how many people would you say are working on like zombies maps right now? So like it's you, CZ. Is there anybody else?
I mean, there's Killer Jam. You played his Derby's map.
Yes.
Yeah, he's working on that. He did Kino, and he's working on Origins right now. But there's other people that are making maps. I don't know if you guys know Ice Grenade from Black Ops 3 mods. He's working on some VR mod maps.
Maybe. Name sounds vaguely familiar. Do you remember what he did on the workshop? If you said Black Ops 3 mods?
I think I've actually never played them, but I've seen one. It was like, I don't want to say the wrong name, but I feel like it was something to do with Cheese Cube or something like that.
Oh, the classic, excuse me.
If he's behind Cheese Cube, then that's one of the greatest custom maps of all time.
Ice Blade, you said?
Ice Grenade. I feel like I'm saying the wrong one.
Well, I can't throw a grenade.
So sorry if he's watching this, and I'm.
Well, one of the things I was wondering, so I saw Kino in VR.
Looks like he does guns.
One of the things I noticed is that like the textures have a different look and style to them. Like the Kino one looked more like it was Black Ops, but with a VR headset. Where yours, something about just the art style seemed different. Is that like a design choice, or is that just a difference between Black Ops 2 and Black Ops 1?
Well, I mean, do you mean like color, or what do you mean?
I would say both like color palette and lighting.
Yeah, so lighting is one of the most difficult things in the engine, because you trying to mimic what they did. I take what they have as a template, but I kind of go my own path. Same for materials and particles. None of the particles that I've made, like if you see like the ashes in town, if you see sparks or something like that, none of those actually came from the game, because you can't get those from the game. You can't do anything with those. So you actually have to remake them yourself. So all the stuff, why it looks different, is because we've made it ourselves.
That makes sense. Yeah, because I guess when you consider town, you have a lot. When you're outdoors, you have those like ash particles floating around. Whereas Kino, it's inside. You don't have as many particle effects. So I guess that makes sense that it's easier to mimic Treyarch in an indoor experience than an outdoor experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. So do you feel that way with like Buried? Like where does Buried kind of fall on that spectrum? Because it's indoors, but it's also not. Well, like, is it difficult to mimic Treyarch in that environment?
It definitely is, but like I've said, like the ground. The ground was all messed up. See, the way they work their ground is they have different textures that are supposed to blend into each other, but they don't blend when you export them. So you have to. I made my own, mud for the ground, so it's not using their textures at all, and so mimicking it's not really mimicking their map there. If you look at the ground in Barry, you're not going to see the same thing you're going to see in VR.
Mm-hmm. Does it just kind of look like a mishmash of textures when you say they don't blend?
Yeah, it'll be like they'll have one that's called sand, and that's got rocks, and it's got sand, and it's got little pebbles and seashells and stuff. But then like there'll be a black spot, and it'll call wet mud, but it's just a flat texture.
Yeah,
and it doesn't blend into it, and it looks bad. So I just made my own materials that do blend. So
that makes sense. You just like throw those together in Photoshop and stuff.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, you can get them offline and make. You could just download a picture of a seamless mud or make it seamless, and then make a normal map and stuff. For you got normal and height maps you have to make for them to make them look good.
Yeah. So one of the things I was wondering, Paralyzer, any shot at that coming in or no?
I told someone no earlier, but then I was really starting to think about it. It could be done because it's realistically all it's got to do is heat up to a certain temperature and stop being able to be used. But it's got to slow down the zombies and then just destroy them with a couple particle effects. So it's not terribly
not impossible, but that's a whole bit of extra work there too.
It's not on my list right now.
Yeah, I don't blame you. And then even if you really want to get ambitious, making it like fly, but that would probably be way too much work.
There's a couple reasons I won't do that, and one of them is because of
I don't blame you.
Oh, he's ready for this.
One of them is because of players that aren't exactly VR friendly. I got my VR legs, so I could go and ride a roller coaster standing up, and I wouldn't be affected by it. But some people can't even walk in VR without falling over.
Yeah.
I'm still a newbie by far.
So you point that thing down and fly around, people are going to lose their balance and fall over. And there's a lot of glitches that opens up. Like if you lay on top of a pole and then the zombies can't get to you, it opens up that glitch, Yeah, it's hard to combat that.
Yeah, that's probably what I would say is the single best reason not to. Because then that creates a million different errors you got to prevent from glitching. Yeah, that's a whole load of work. It is so funny seeing like the skill gap in VR. Because I sent you two different videos. One was Noah playing it on Town, your map. And then another of a guy whose channel is dedicated to VR playing it on Kino. And Noah would his gun would fly everywhere. It would take him like a minute to kill a single zombie.
Yeah.
But then I'd see the guy whose channel is dedicated to it playing on Kino. And he's in the military and he's like knocking out the zombies. He's got it down. And like even just like the way he's holding the gun and the way it looks much better than Noah.
Yep.
And not to rag on Noah, but like this guy's channel is dedicated to VR, so I imagine he's playing these VR games all the time. So he's got it down, and it's very clear that there is a skill gap in just how you're able to move and navigate.
Yes. Definitely. Yes. I can't relax yet. That's one of the first things that came in. Is like, this is so stressful compared to normal zombies. And it made me think back to the time of what it was like to relearn how to, or my first time playing video games. And this must be what it's like when I hand, a family member a controller and say, okay, go ahead and play. And I'm like, how do you not get this? It's not that hard. You pick it up really quick. And today, man, I was like, oh my God, Reed, this is it. This is it. You're experiencing learning how to do controls all over again. It was so strange for me to be in Pavlov, hit every button, and no menus came up. And I was like, what? I'm so illiterate. And then the simple things like, dude, you just press two buttons at the same time. Like that's basic. Oh, Johnny dropped out. Oh no, camera's gonna be off until he gets back in. There we go. But that surprised me. That certainly surprised me that I had to relearn and get those legs, especially since I feel like I'm such a seasoned gamer at this point. I'm gamer, but seriously, like I've played a lot of video games. I'm pretty proficient that I could pick up just about anything with a controller. But
yeah,
you throw a keyboard and mouse in my hand, or apparently a VR headset. It's back to the basics. Absolutely back to the basics.
Jeez, I've lost.
Have you lost everything, John?
No, okay, I'm back. I'm here.
Okay.
Discord like crashed for a moment, and then I wasn't sure it was running again, but I am here.
You know, it might have. I've seen it doing this frequently since they opened up the from 10 video calls to 50 video calls because of the whole virus outbreak in the country right now. So there's going to be more stress on video calls in Discord on Discord servers.
Yeah, I did see they put out that memo about that, which was like very good on Discord. Way to go. It did. I was thinking about. Oh yeah, I wanted to. So you mentioned like menus, and I was curious what your approach and thought to it was, because I've seen a lot of different things. Like in Kino, the guy just had a bunch of text written on like a sign that was literally just posted by the teleporter.
Yeah.
On Deriz, I just saw a bunch of floating text on the walls. It looked like a console log output.
Mhm.
Like, what exactly do you go for? Like, what's your approach on that?
I don't have any menu. They figure it out when they play. it's. I mean, if you've played Pavlov before, I guess you'd probably get it. You know, you pick up your gun and you have an ammo counter on the side of your gun that tells you how many mags you have left. And
I think it's definitely like a stylistic choice. And one of the things I was wondering, is it possible to create like a HUD that is always in the player's vision? If that makes sense.
I mean, that'd be a little difficult, I think, possibly. I think with the current state that we have and what we have access to in Pavlov, maybe not.
Mm-hmm.
But if we could attach, yeah, it could be done, I guess. If you tag it to a player and then joint the HUD that you made to their bone and get the rotation, I guess.
Well, because what I was thinking about was like when you get hit in zombies, typically you'll have like a like your screen will go red, and you might even see like a little bit of like more red in the direction that you've been hit. And I was wondering if something like that was possible.
Yeah, I mean, I actually have that in my map, and when you get hit, you it displays the audio logs from Black Ops 2. You know, like Misty's. She'll do a little screech or whatever, so it does that when you get hit.
Dope. Look at you.
Oh, that's cool.
Getting it all together already. Is implementing audio dialogue difficult? The way you made it sounds like it would just be... Is it a tedious process to input all those? Because I remember it's like Vox, PLR, and there's just thousands of those lines. And then to try and link that up... Yeah, okay. That was my assumption. Go ahead.
It's really difficult, actually, and I haven't got it fully figured out, because right now, if you were to get hit, it's going to display one of the 4 people. You're not linked to a certain person.
Oh, that's funny.
So, I mean, it's almost like a dream, I guess. You hear all the voices. It's like you're like just kind of there with it. That's the way I like to picture it. Some people don't like to picture it, and they hate on me for it, but that's how I see it.
It's fine. It's a fine approach, and keep going with it. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, that's just how I like to think about it, because it's... I mean, you're not even actually the characters yet. Yeah, you're not the characters yet. I'm working on it.
Oh, you could be the character model. I guess you see the avatars, especially. Ever done VR chat? I'm sorry, this is coming up. I have yet to do that. Chat. How is that? For me, I'd like to know somebody that's almost like who fell in love with VR. You mod for VR. How's your approach to that? What seems to me chaos of a mode of a game.
I mean, I don't want to get too far into it, but...
Oh, God.
Come on, Reed. Do you know the way?
Yeah, VR chat's very toxic. It's hard to find a good group of people on there, but they are there, because I sat with this guy from Australia. I had a 8-hour conversation with him just sitting in a bar, and that was an absolutely amazing experience. That's what keeps me going back to VR chat. But then there's sometimes when everybody's just screaming in your ears, there's the irate things that'll, break your eyes.
Oh, God.
Yeah, your vision go crazy. I've almost fell over. I've almost puked. It's bad.
That's a thing? I never knew about that.
They'll shake your screen and make your screen morph, and it's on a screen it doesn't look like anything, but when you're in VR, your vision is changing. And it's definitely a problem, but there is good times to be had on VR chat.
I think you got to imagine it like almost Reddit in a sense, where it's like in Reddit you can have some really terrible communities, and you can have some vile stuff go on within Reddit, but then there's also a lot of really good communities or really interesting things that people are doing and happening on Reddit. So it's like you get the good with the bad.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
But sometimes the only thing people want to talk about are the bad parts of it.
Most of the time it seems like in these little corners they just got to chronically complain about everything. I mean,
It's a give and a take.
he gave us an example here before we got into that conversation. Was he's making a map for them, and they're complaining. I don't want to hear all 4 quotes. Are you kidding me? He's making a free mod for you to play this. Shut up. Just enjoy the damn game.
You got to remember, too, you're just one guy.
Yeah.
Like, Treyarch's a whole team, all getting paid. You're doing this just really for fun.
So many people don't get that. So many people do not get that.
Oh, my God.
That's why, like, when I saw it, just like playing Buried in VR and having the zombies there and buying weapons off the wall was good enough. Like, to me, I was sold on that. And then as I dug further, I'm like, oh, shit, they got the perks in the pack-a-punch in the mystery box. And I'm like, I'm in. It's perfect. Yep. And then you're like, yeah, we got Leroy coming. And I'm also working on a few little Easter eggs here. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. Like, not that I say my expectations were low, but what it took to impress me, the bar was low. Because I was just happy for what was there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, like, the more I learn, I'm just, like, more and more thrilled about it.
It's amazing. I can't wait to actually dive in when I'm a competent player to really experience VR. It was jarring. I got to be honest with you. When I played that zombie mode, the Pavlov Zombie Hospital, to see them running at me, even though the avatars were totally janky, and I was like, they're not scary. But just the motion of them coming at you to hit you is like, I can't. I don't know how guns work in this game. This is, whoa, that's a feeling. And I think there's a lot of potential down this road. So almost getting into what I facetiously titled today's stream, is there a future for this in zombies? That this could be a path down VR. This could be a path for the Call of Duty Zombies game to explore is virtual reality. It could potentially lead to experiences we could never have had normally in Call of Duty Zombies that might make people want to go down this path or make developers want to try and create something extra. I don't think it's going to be mainstream yet because it's too expensive. It's still, there's not enough return for somebody to jump into zombies. So let's just ignore the fact there's a price problem. You need to have a computer, dev time. Oh, let's just ignore that. But is there something that if you had a team of people working with you, or in your mind, if Treyarch had 100 people working on VR zombies, do you think they could do something incredible? Is there something in your mind, like, if I just had a team of people, this could blow, like, people don't even think about this because they don't even know how to develop in VR, or they don't even know how to approach VR. Is there anything like that?
I mean, I think that that was a lot. Hold on, I'm trying to process
it. It's totally fine. I know. I give an example, then I give like 3 follow-ups.
Yeah.
Pick whatever you want to answer. It's totally fine.
My mind's stuck on right now the fact that, like, I don't think that Call of Duty ever will come to VR.
Mm-hmm.
Just because it limits. I don't even know how to put that.
Well, here, let me ask a question, because this is something that has been floating around in my mind once I realized, like, VR zombies could be a thing, and it's what's stopping a developer and even Treyarch really from incorporating an alternate VR mode into their game, or like an alternate view. So it's like when I'm playing on PC, I have like in my display settings, I could pick like monitor or headset. And what's stopping them from just changing and mapping the camera to the headset?
Well, I mean, you can do that. You can do that as it is. Like, there's a application called Vorpex. Although you'll get a big headache from it because when you're playing, you can't. When you're playing those games, if you were to map that camera to your headset, you can't still hold the gun. So you're just playing with the controller still.
Yeah.
So it's very disorienting. I've played games with the controller. I've played the games with the keyboard using the headset. And it feels weird when you have the headset on not being able to actually move anything else besides your screen.
Mm-hmm.
You can't look around still. You have to look around with the analog stick. And it's very disorienting.
Good point.
Okay, so you can wear it like a headset, but if I look to the left, it won't look to the left. I have to.
Nope. You look to the left and it stays where it is.
Yeah.
That's then also what I was wondering is, like, would it be too much trouble for Treyarch just to kind of map head movement, like replace, like it would basically, like, the sticks would no longer work, or one of the sticks wouldn't work, and it would just be mapped to the headset. I guess that wouldn't work.
It could, but they'd have to do a lot more work than just that. Like for all their guns, when you're in first person, there's I don't know if you guys know, but there's different models for the guns. So when you're in first person, you see the view model, which the other half of the gun isn't actually there. You don't. It's never there. It's invisible.
Oh yeah, 'cause you got to consider your hands.
Yep.
Yeah. So if you could move your head, then you'd see that part of the gun. So they have to switch and they have to remake those models into full models.
Mm.
And how I'm doing the models for my guns, I'm not sure if you've seen that video on Facebook, but someone has they're in Buried, and they're using the there's a PDW in there, which is one of the custom guns I added in. There's an M14 and there's a what is the AN94.
Nice.
So those are the world models, which is what people see that you're holding, which is a full model, but it's very low poly. So like the grips for the guns are squares. They're not actually rounded off. It doesn't look pretty, but it works.
Right.
So they'd have to switch off to that if they wanted to make your head movement.
Okay, see this is exactly why I wanted to like have somebody like you on, because I've literally like I've found myself before like walking to class and being like, why can't they just map the headset to a kit? It'd be so easy, and then just throw a quick switch in the settings menu. And I never consider that like, well, yeah, the other half of that gun model doesn't exist. So what do you?
Yeah.
Then we got to replace the models, and how are you going to work your hands if you're stuck to the controller, but the controller is also mapped to your head? You know, like these are the things that I didn't even think about, but I'm sure somebody like you who has like worked on
think about it all the time.
Like this is what you eat, sleep, and breathe.
Yeah. I mean, that's how I even got here, is because before VR and all this, when I was playing, zombies with my brother back when I was, 11 and up till, when we stopped playing, I had this constant dream of just being in the maps and seeing them.
Oh, dude.
And then I realized I can make that a reality. And before this mod even ever actually came to be a thing, I was on Blade and Sorcery. I was just trying to add town into there. But then a couple weeks after I started to work on that, I see that this was a thing. It just started to be, spring up. And I was like, I'm done. I'm going to move over here. So I started working with Unreal Engine. And now here I am making the maps so we can see them in VR.
I love the fact that this is all self-taught, because I imagine
and
like,
a passion project. That's
every
awesome.
every time you start one of these, I imagine you're like, okay, well, I got to learn now how to rip the maps. Yeah. Okay, and now I gotta learn this whole new mode, and now I gotta learn Unreal, and now I gotta learn to script. Oh, and I need to fix these textures, so now I gotta learn Photoshop and make these textures like I feel like most people would see that and be like, oh, I don't want to learn Unreal. I'll just stick to this mode, or I don't want to bother learning to script, so I'm just going to work with the tools that are available. But I love the fact that you see these challenges, you take them, you're like, yeah, let's learn to script so I can go figure this out.
Yep,
that's awesome.
It is.
Yeah, there's some people in there that just they want to do it, but they don't understand it, and they'll ask you question after question after question because they don't want to learn. They don't retain that information you tell them either. Like I told this one kid how to make guns spawn in the mystery box, and he took that information and he used it once, and then he asked me about, I think, like 2 hours later, he was like, how did you do it again? And I was like, how did you not retain that information? You have it in your map already. And he just doesn't want to learn, because before I did all this, I went and I learned how to use it first, because you can't just throw yourself into making a map and you have no idea what you're doing. You need to learn the engine first before you're going to go working on the details.
How long do you think it took? So starting from when you first decided you wanted to make town, and then over the course of like learning Unreal and then getting the scripting down, how long do you think that whole process took you?
Well, the scripting came a little easier just because I have a lot of C# knowledge from Unity.
Okay, yeah.
But it's definitely different because it's not actual code that you're looking at in the line. You're looking at nodes and it's placing it all. But I understood what they meant. Some people just don't get that.
Yeah,
but
that makes sense.
From the start of town, before I actually had basic knowledge of it all, it only took me probably a month and a half to understand what I was doing when I was doing it. Up till now, of course, now I have really good knowledge of what I'm doing.
Yeah, now you feel pretty competent with it.
Yeah, but there's a lot of stuff I still don't know, and I ask people that are in the Discord, and they know things I don't, and I know things they don't. we all work together to make things work, and it's really amazing.
That's terrific. Being able to
that-
bounce off people as well in the Discord community. Discord's really
this
facilitated a great place for that. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off 5 times shot. I just want to finish the song. Go ahead, John. Go ahead.
I was wondering, like, does all this that you learn and these skills, do they translate into other VR games? Because I saw on your YouTube channel that, like, you were making stuff for Beat Saber. Or does kind of like the skills in one game, you kind of got to relearn them for another game?
It depends on the engine. I mean, some of them run off their own engine, but most of them are Unity and Unreal. So if it runs off Unity or Unreal, I have it down. I know what I'm doing. You can just hop into it and do it. For the most part, there's some things that they do custom, which I wouldn't know how to do. Like Pavlov has a lot of different custom things you have to access that I wouldn't know how to work with if I didn't have the functions list that one of the guy's friends for him.
Well, it's like a lot of this is like that, as you were saying, like the community with like custom mappers too. Because like you'll look at one custom map, and then you look at the credits. There's like 10 of them, and each one, like the modder who found a way to get the Modern Warfare weapons in, and the modder that figured out how to work Leroy or whatever. You know, it seems like
Is that me or is it John? Oh no, I think it's me.
losing connection.
Yeah. Am I coming back? I think my internet just had a hiccup, would be my guess.
Yeah, you're there. You got really robotic-y.
Yeah, I thought so. Well,
You have to repeat yourself there a little bit. I didn't really hear much of
yeah,
that.
John, repeat yourself.
Oh, what did you last hear?
I don't even
don't
remember. Yep, not a clue.
Oh shit. Okay. Well, I was just thinking. I was just saying, like, a lot of custom maps. If you look like the credits, you'll see like 10 different names, and you'll have like the guy that made the weapons, and the guy that figured out how to add Leroy, and the guy that made a cool lighting script. And it's almost in a way like developing is standing on the shoulders of giants, especially when you have like these communities, and it's really cool how that comes together.
Yeah.
It seems like that's the same thing that's going on with VR.
Pretty much. I mean, every day someone's finding out something new. I mean, no matter how small or big it is, something new just appears. So no matter if we use it or not, I mean, I have, I think 6 or 7 people in my credits up from, when they first started porting maps, someone, it's a Shylon 12 or something like that. I can't remember the name exactly, but they figured out how to port maps. And they had this thing that makes it really easy, but it still has its flaws to it. But that's, of course, in my credits, because that's one person that figured out how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Up until now, like my most recent credits is Brav Soldat. He's the one who figured out how to do custom guns, and now I'm able to put in all the Black Ops 2 guns. It's
just little steps. Everybody has that little inch forward. Everyone has that progress to make it till the maps are unbelievable.
Yeah.
Oh, god dang it. What is happening? Is it
started popping around?
Is it John's internet, or is it?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, good. So it's not just me. It's just John. Well, he's home. I was worried I was dropping the stream or something like that. Okay. Well, that's reassuring that I'm not losing it on that end. So while John comes back in about a minute, this has been wonderful. Thanks for coming on, for starters, for all this. This has been enlightening for all the VR stuff. And I think, by the way, I think it's made in Radiant, not Unreal. Radiant for custom zombies. That's the Call of Duty side that you said you had no idea about. So
yeah,
I think that makes a lot more sense. At least for any of the viewers that might have been screaming at me the entire stream, being like, "No, it's made in Radiant, you moron." That's really cool, and that is made in Unreal. And is there different versions of the Unreal Engine? Because I thought there was like Unreal Engine 1, 2, and 3. And which one are you using? If that is the case, go ahead. 4. You're in 4. Okay. Is that the latest and greatest?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's amazing what it can handle and what it can do. Although it has flaws, it's probably the most advanced engine in my eyes. That's just out for you to use.
Okay.
Anybody can hop in and start making any game they want if they have the knowledge.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear
You're
you.
not robotic anymore, which is great. I'm curious, have you seen those Mario demos, those Super Mario demos that just show like all the fluid dynamics in Unreal Engine? Is that
Yeah, I talked to that guy
Oh,
pretty recently.
cool.
He's got some VR tech demos too. I think he made Mario VR, but it got canned because uh yeah the Nintendo said they were gonna file a lawsuit
I figured
against them.
Nintendo.
Yeah, soon,
I
yeah,
figured Nintendo would be quick to throw the lawsuit hammer.
yeah.
Yep.
They are normally very quick to do that.
You know, of course, it's always a worry with us making these
Yeah.
zombies maps too. I worry every day I'm gonna wake up and see a cease and desist from, Treyarch that says if you don't take down your maps and stop what you're doing, then we're gonna, sue you.
Well,
But-
in one respect, though, they do that. You take it down. All right. It sucks that all that effort is gone, but you can still play it personally. You still have your file. You just can't upload it to the public anymore.
Yeah, but
Mhm.
I
don't
think
wanna-
the problem
I don't wanna
with the
jinx
reason
anything,
they're
but I
not
think-
going to do that is because of the community hatred they'd get, especially right now with the fact that I forgot his name, Jason Blundell, just got the main
Yeah.
zombies guy is gone from Treyarch,
Yeah.
and they took out zombies from mobile.
Yeah.
If they got rid of this, they have some hatred against zombies. So
Oh, they might just be moving on. I mean, that could be a brand direction for them if they decide that Call of Duty is beyond zombies at this point, and that might be a reality we have to accept. But I think this niche community is going to survive long past it. I feel like it's going to be something like Dota that has just stayed around forever, even though it's been around for so long. So people are like, you could ask gamers, what's Dota? And many will go, I've never heard of Dota. What are you talking about? And it's like, it's a really big game. They'd be like, no, it's not. And it'd be like, you heard of Fortnite? Of course I've heard of Fortnite. It's like, Jesus. It's crazy the world we live in. I think Zombies is going to fill that niche of a much smaller, Dota's huge, but much, much smaller community as time goes on, if Treyarch decides to move on.
and I hope they move to VR too,
I
because
think the only scenario
Oh, God, John.
he's going robotic
Oh,
again.
my bad.
A little bit.
I'm sorry.
You're lagging. You're coming in and out. It's okay. It's okay, John. Maybe your family's streaming right now, or John's family decides to start streaming Netflix. Well, we're probably gonna have to get the topic time probably when he gets back, and then we'll hit that up. And I'm just grateful again for this look into the VR zombies has been wonderful. I'm so excited to see everything down the pipeline and your Buried project and Mob of the Dead next. That sounds pretty darn exciting.
I've had this just excitement in myself lately, just so excited to work on it. It makes me want to just hop off a Buried right now and go work on it, but I can't. I want to finish what I'm doing and then go work on it.
It's a great way, great method, great ideology to get it done. John, do you want to do topic time?
Here.
I can hear you, but you're really rough. Oh God, I might have to. You're still a robot. Is your family streaming Netflix right now? I think I'll do topic time. I'm getting it up. Don't worry. I got it. I got this, John. You can just listen in and hopefully keep your internet together so the boxes aren't screwed for the rest of the stream. Or yeah, you might want to turn off your camera. That might help with your bandwidth. Topic suggestions. We'll get into topic time this week and then read your generous donations to answer some questions. The first topic time for this week, and we tried to relate them to VR. Favorite zombies jump scare. Have you put any VR jump scares into your maps, Ben?
No, I've not.
You're a good person. There it is. That's terrific. I've never had a VR jump scare experience so far.
Sound terrifying.
I agree.
Am I robotic?
You're coming back. You're coming back though.
It's in and out.
Yeah.
Am I? Okay.
Now, better.
I'm gonna
we
go
go.
see what's going on.
Kind of.
Oh, okay. Well, John's gonna go do that. I apologize for the boxes. He'll be back at some time. But legit zombies. Do you? Is there any jump scares? I know actually playing the game. Oh, but you said you didn't play many of the games. Have you played any of the? You played BO2, so you at least had Mob of the Dead and Origins jump scares. Have you seen the classified last gen Richtofen jump scare in the past?
I have not.
Oh God, it's cringeworthy. So between Mob and Origins, have you ever even triggered them? The jump scares?
I did the Origins one, but I knew it was coming, so I didn't really care. Like it wasn't
Right.
like I wasn't scared of it, I guess. But yeah, I mean, I definitely probably don't have intentions of adding them into my maps.
Good on you. Well, I guess, yeah, Cheese Puff, if I had to pick a favorite jump scare, I'm along the lines of probably Origins. That one looked unique and interesting. Orange Man from... a very interesting name. Skipped last episode in order to listen to it at work, missed a perfect triple play, won a giveaway. John mispronounced my name, and he recognized me as a frequenter of Topic Time. What I would have give to go back in time and change my nickname from Mars that episode just during Topic Time. Jokes aside, I look forward to Jug. It's definitely going to take center stage on my desk. Curious to where I can get the Speak Cola version as well, if that's possible. Thank you. That's right. John never got back to me about the giveaway we did last week for...
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. You sound great. For the Patreon. So I do need to get that back to Prestigious Key, who watches the show. I will get you that location if we even know. I'm not sure where John gets them, but we definitely not going to say it publicly on the show. Oh, you do know? Okay, well, don't say it publicly, because that's how we get patrons to come. So that's different.
No, I sent out the bottles, I think, on Wednesday.
Oh, terrific.
Wednesday or Tuesday, I forget which day I sent it of last week. So they should be out and hopefully reach you in the mail soon. I would hope it have gotten to you by now. But yeah, keep a lookout for that. And I got to take up that link again, but I did find them.
Fantastic. Oh God! He just needs to accept it. The Tater writes, "Do you think Treyarch will ever add VR support to upcoming zombie experiences?" Well, we did dive into this quite a bit, but I think it's one of those problems that they're always complaining that they do not have enough resources and devs on a specific project. So to then take more time to try and do VR, they'd have to do something really special where they literally take like one guy like you and be like, "All right, you're doing the VR of this project for the next year and 2 years, 3 years to development. You're going to be stressed out. You're probably going to hate your life, but you got this." Do you see them ever adding VR zombies onto the main game, Ben?
I mean, we can only hope so, but it depends on where VR goes. Not zombies or what they are to do. But yeah, it depends on where VR goes as a whole first.
That's an excellent point. I mean, the industry will definitely dictate that. And like I was trying to get to earlier, there's a lot of roadblocks for people just to get their hands on VR. And from Treyarch and Activision's point of view, they're in the business of making money and selling copies. So VR-only games wouldn't be their direction. So adding VR integration is sort of that idea of like, well, how much extra revenue is that going to bring in? That's what I can just hear the managers talking in the background. Joe E / Mr. Burger writes, "Gentlemen, hello. Have a wonderful evening. Looking forward to Resident Evil 3. I will be quick shout out, RE3 demo. I will be streaming Thursday when it comes out, so get excited for that at 6:30 Eastern Standard Time, PM as normal for our weekly Thursday streams, and I am super excited for Resident Evil 3. Got a pre-order discount in it on Fanatical. Is that a website? Is that like a wish? Is it one of those? I don't know. But that's interesting. Cool. Well, thanks for the kind wishes. Caboose, 501st. Would you guys like a zombies map where you start the map from an above facility, then go underwater and did he write this before? I feel like he did. Underwater city, maybe Atlantis, cough, cough. When you go down in the bottom, it's all underwater. And we totally answered that. We answered that last week. Yeah. Thank you, John. I thought so. Oh, Caboose, listen to the podcast. Magna Collider 15. Is your buried map on Pavlov VR able to be downloaded and played on Samsung Gear VR? That's an interesting question.
No.
There you go.
Never would be. It's
why is that hard?
Samsung is from what I know is, your phone, not your PC. So being us to have, really built PCs, some of us can't even run the map sometimes. So ever porting that, even like Oculus Quest, that's meant to run VR games. We don't even think that our zombies maps could run on that if we can get workshop support on there ever. So running on a phone would never be an option.
Possible. That makes perfect sense. Captain Murphy. Least favorite remade map, excluding reimagines like Blood of the Dead and Tog. For me, it's Moon. The stark color aesthetics of the original BO1 Moon is closer to the 70s science fiction movies and TV shows that inspired the original map creators. Chronicles Moon is too colorful and missing lots of ambient sounds. Okay, so he's asking which remaster or remake do you not like, minus the ones in BO4 where it's not a reimagine. I'm probably around the Dries from BO1 because it looks so cartoony. Most of the BO1 remakes look super cartoony to me. When they were just direct ports from World at War to Black Ops 1, and then they just moved some guns over. You said you did play BO2 and BO1 in World at War. You went back and played. How'd you feel about any of those remasters?
Remasters as in like Black Ops 3 and Black Ops 4?
Yeah, I'd say Zombie Chronicles, or do you remember there was BO1 remastered World at War maps on there? Yeah, you didn't even play those? Nice.
No.
Yeah, they were, yeah. All right, so yeah, out of BO3, did you play Chronicles?
I never had the Black Ops 3, so.
God damn, that's what I thought you said earlier, but you got my hopes up there for a second. Right on. Well,
yeah.
Fair enough.
It's coming soon enough. I'm just gonna wait for it to go on sale because it's still $50 in Steam.
Oh God, they're gross. I can't believe how even BO1's like $50, $60 on Steam. How those prices don't go down until a Christmas sale or the summer sale. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous how much they charge.
Just to make the maps, I had purchased the $50 season pass because that's how much they still want for it for Black Ops 2. So
that's a robbery. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the final topic time question would be, it would be insane to remake Revelations on VR with the jump pads. That would be so weird in VR to feel that motion. Oh my gosh, that's true from Magna Collider. Think about that. Would that be a mess for you as well? You know how you would... Have you seen Revelations? Because you didn't play BO3. Have you at least seen the map Revelations?
I mean, Revelations is trying to... No, I don't think I have.
No worries. But there's these jump pads area to area, and I imagine that would be incredibly fun, but also disorienting to get that whoosh like you were talking about earlier with the paralyzer. All right, I'm going to jump into donation questions, and then we'll be wrapping up. That's a Moon, they'd also be disorienting. Yeah, I agree on Moon as well, as John wants to add. Do you want to try unmuting, John, your mic, and see if you can talk? No. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
I'm watching the little green bar, and it's often red, but sometimes it's green. And when it's green, when it's been red, I've been muting myself to avoid like robot sounds.
Oh, perfect. Well, you sound great right now, and you're doing a good job then observing it. Right on.
Okay, well let's hope this holds.
Yes.
I don't know what's going. Nobody in my house is streaming right now, so I have no idea what's going on.
That's very strange. All right, we have 3 donations. And 2 membership renewals. Jack Powell and Gage Day. Thank you so much for renewing your memberships. Mr. Drown donates. Good evening, gentlemen. I hope all is well. Please stay safe out there. It's a crazy time we're living in. Wash your hands, don't touch your face, and have a good day. I am the worst with touching my face. That is something I do. One of my nervous tics is wiping my nose. That's just one of my nervous tics I have. So this virus is just horrible. Just the worst case scenario. But I'm also extremely paranoid about cleanliness. And I constantly, even prior to this happening, I had sanitizer bottles on me and I always washed my hands crazy. Especially because you have dogs. I clean up after my dogs, and every time you pick up, they poop 3 times a day. You wash your hands after you pick up their poop with whatever device you use or paper towels. Yeah, cleanliness. There you go. Thank you, Mr. Drown. The Games donated twice, and he has, and we'll refer to it just as the virus. I still might get demonetized for that, but we can't really say the actual name of it. YouTube's done a very hard policy against actually saying the name of it because they're trying to discourage people from putting out fake information and profiting off it. So, with that said, or sensationalizing it, he asks, do you think it will have any influence in the gaming industry? And he wanted to say how it's impacted greatly in the Netherlands. It's absolutely impacted the United States. I think today was probably one of the days it's hit us hardest, besides the state of emergency that was announced a couple days ago. For me, though, that's the funniest thing. All my friends and family are like, this is insane. My life has been disrupted. I don't know what to do. Every day is the same for me still. I just can't go out to eat as much as I used to. Like, I'm working at home, the status quo, the deadlines, everything I'm doing, pretty much the same. Can't go to the gym. Yeah, so that was pretty blasé for whatever for disrupting my life. But everybody else, it's been pretty crazy. Stores have been empty from the panic of people getting stuff and all that. So it's had quite an impact. And on the gaming industry, there's probably just going to be a lot of delays. Movie theaters have been delayed. Even releases have been delayed. No public gatherings, all that stuff. Fun fact, my county is the epicenter of the pandemic in Pennsylvania. Wow. Oh, well, that's horrifying, John. My state has the most cases, so that's not exciting. But the governor's pretty on top of it, so I do give him credit for that. But I don't want to go down the whole path because it's a mess and there's tons of politics involved, and I don't want to get into any of that stuff. I have plenty of strong opinions, but we try and get away from that on here. So at the very least, I'm happy a lot of us can get away from the craziness, and it almost feels like I'm happy that it's in the sense not about what's going on, but like everybody gets to be inside. I'm talking to people again. I get to see my friends and family a little more often. Even though we're doing it through like Discord and talking, people have free time all of a sudden. They're reconnecting. And I think that's a little cool. But on the dark side of it, my sister actually messaged me and she goes, hey, do you know any good divorce stocks? Because she's betting that people are going to be forced to hang out with each other, couples, and the divorce rates are going to go up because they're going to have to spend so much time with each other inside during this pandemic. So it's like, oh my God, that's a fair point. I'm sure we'll be sick of it as time goes on. And I am sad for all the delays in people's education, as I was telling John, and everyone's online classes. And John says he's hardly left the house. I've been going to the grocery store. That's about the only place I've been going, just because I have to make all my foods fresh because of my dieting stuff. So again, I'm one of the rare cases where it's hardly affected me, where everyone else, this is a massive shift in their life. And I also think there's an interesting point that I like is in the United States, it kind of popped a bubble for us. The United States lives in a bubble, where what I mean by that is we've gone through 2 wars in the past 20 years or 19 years since 2001. People still walk in malls. Nobody noticed a thing. Not a difference. Hardly knew anything was going on. This has really made people be like, oh, we should wake up about maybe some of the things that matter, like, being prepared in case a virus comes out, or some of those existential crises people talk about. So it's an interesting wake-up call at the very least. I mean, one of the things I heard is they put interest rates on hold, and to me, it's for student loans, which, again, one of the worries I have for a lot of students is like, they're not going to be able to finish on time. They have to take another year of loans out for another semester of school or at least another semester of loans to try and finish up. It's just like the delays in the education because there's such strict pathways to all of it. It's just interesting to me. It's like, oh gosh, like how is that going to impact such strict schedules? Because everyone was always worried about graduating on time and all that. But then our government can be like, yeah, loans, all those student loans that are such a big issue, forget interest overnight. Don't worry about interest. So does that make people in the United States after this happens to be like, hey, wait a minute, let's keep doing that? Like Universal Studios is sort of in the same respect with streaming, which I thought was interesting, that they're releasing movies. And that might just be the norm now, where they always had a policy, will never, ever release a brand new movie streaming because that'll take away from stuff. All right. That's that then. I just thought I'd talk about it because I had a lot of interesting things to bring about, but nobody cares. So with that, I hope I answered your questions. Do you have anything you want to shout out for your social medias or last minute things you want to promote besides Zombies VR, Ben?
I mean, welcome to join my Discord or the Zombies Discord, or go to my YouTube, subscribe there, helps me out. But other than that, I think we're good.
Reed, you got the Discord in the description, right?
I have his YouTube. I will update the Discord after the show.
Awesome. Yeah. And check it out. There's a lot of really just cool zombies VR content on YouTube.
Yeah.
Everybody watching this, like not just from Ben's work, but there's a lot of people doing really cool stuff. I'd recommend you guys check it out. It's awesome, and I'm really happy that you came on the show, Ben, because this has been like a whole like insight into world of VR that I didn't even realize.
It was wonderful.
Yeah.
Like I
Glad
said
got to be
earlier,
here.
when I'm thinking to myself, like, why can't they just put in a VR mode? And it's like I like having somebody who actually knows what they're talking about, so they.
Oh shit. Nice.
Read?
Yep.
Yep.
We're good.
That
we're,
one.
we're good. We're good. We're good. We're good. We're good.
That explains, like, okay, well, this is actually how it works, and here's why this can happen or why this can't happen. I appreciate it. Mm-hmm. What happened? Did you lose signal for a second?
I went to get his Discord link and I closed Discord by mistake. It was right next to his Discord link. So that's what ended up happening. So I was updating the description to make sure everybody could go check it out, and instead I just closed Discord by mistake. So that's on me.
Mm-hmm.
But is now updated in the description, both his YouTube and Discord.
I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you so much for coming on, Ben. Thank you all for coming out and tolerating some of the tech issues we had this week. This was an absolutely wonderful experience. I learned a lot, and we'll see you on the next episode of Zombroz. Till then, take care. Bye now.